Hey, sports fans, welcome back to FNN Sports Take with me, Kasey Hudson. I hope everyone had a solid Monday and is having an amazing Tuesday thus far. Of course, we're going to kick it off with some NFL news, and this is kind of breaking news. If you guys have heard the name Michael Bennett and many of his accolades that he has accomplished throughout the NFL, he has finally decided to throw in the towel and announce his retirement earlier today. He took to social media to do so. Three-time Pro Bowler Michael Bennett says that he is retiring after 11 seasons, 69.5 career sacks, and 1 Super Bowl ring, saying retiring feels a little like death of self. But I'm looking forward to the rebirth, the opportunity to reimagine my purpose. So we all send him best wishes and the best of luck on this next chapter, this new journey. We know that guys have to kind of refine themselves once they turn in those cleats and hang up those cleats, to actually use the phrase properly. But it just, they have to refine themselves and what it is that they like. What are these new hobbies? What are their days going to entail? What does their training look like? Are they going to continue training? Do they want to try to train towards something? So best of luck, Michael Bennett. We know that he was a force to be reckoned with out there on the field. Now for some COVID-19 updates, we finally have a little bit more information being kicked around in the NFL. Monday, the NFL makes an offer to players to scrap all preseason games. We know that there was a lot of debacle in terms of there just being 4 games cut down to 2 games. Now they're saying no preseason games. Let's extend training camp, give the guys more time to get acclimated. And realistically, with all the medical stuff taking place, they might need that extra time themselves to weed out any issues or things that don't play out the way that they had planned to do so. We know that a lot of professional sports teams are starting to now grasp their bearings, but of course, like all new things, you have the kinks that you need to really iron out, and the NFL just has so many moving pieces that they might need that extra time, so I totally respect that decision. They're also proposing daily testing for players for at least the first 2 weeks, and then if numbers are declining or, obviously being maintained, not spiking, nothing crazy going on, they want to change testing to every other day. We are officially 1 week out from what should be the NFL 2020 training camp, as well as the NFL 2020 season. And so far, it looks like the negotiations are going well between the NFL and the NFLPA. The NFL heard the players loud and clear, as in the past couple of days, they've taken to Twitter to say, look, we want to play. We want to make this work, but we need more information. We need more effort from the NFL. Negotiations have to go better. Discussions have to go better. We need to dive in a little bit deeper. So whoever started that whole, Twitter stand-up, because if you looked through the Twitter feed, you saw that guys were kind of utilizing the same sentence structure, or they were kind of, copy and pasting the same thing and adding their little niches to it. So, whoever started that was a great way to get the attention of the NFL, because, conversations are now moving along. And according to sources, as well as Adam Schefter, they were saying that so far there's no pushback. Things are coming along well, and training camp should hit off very normal per usual starting 1 week from today. So fingers crossed, guys, because I know all of us just want football to be here, but we have to have those safety protocols and procedures in place so that the guys feel safe. And it's not just about them, because they're not going into a bubble. So when they go to the facilities, when they hit that field, they have to go back home to their families and their loved ones, and they can't put them at risk, because if we've learned anything about this, is that you just don't know what to expect if you catch COVID. You can be the person who overcomes it, conquers it, goes on with their day-to-day life, or somebody who ends up, losing that battle. And we don't want to put anyone in that predicament on a huge guess. So the good news is things are moving along. The great news, hopefully, to be that we have a 2020 NFL season. Even if they have to push it back a little bit, we just want these guys safe, and we want a season to cover and for you guys to be able to watch. As for fans in the stands, that's a whole nother debate for hopefully a date down the line soon. Stick with us as we go to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we break down some NBA bubble talk and NHL.
At Taco John's, you can expect one thing: so good. As in quality ingredients used in tacos and burritos made just for you. Every single bite.
So good.
Expect nothing less at Taco John's.
All right, guys, welcome back. So the NBA unveils their Black Lives Matter logo on the Orlando court. We know that heading into the NBA restart, it was going to be a major deal that these guys still show their support for the BLM movement, as well as not letting this situation just go silent or overlooked, because they didn't want the NBA season restart to be a distraction. They're making sure of that. We know Toronto has made sure that their logos were on buses, on warm-up shirts. Other teams had made sure that their warm-up shirts, socks. They're making sure to stand by the fact that this will not take away from everything taking place in our nation. Now, somebody catching some heat, because there's always an athlete catching heat. Dwight Howard is deemed as a non-fan to wear the mask around the bubble and is raising up a lot of questions as to if he doesn't believe in the safety of the mask. Now, why he's catching this heat is because he's often caught in either the barbershop or the lounge area or in common areas not wearing his mask. To his defense, he believes that everyone in the bubble is supposed to be safe and secure. They're getting tested all the time, so it's almost like there's nothing to spread in the bubble. Therefore, he feels like he shouldn't have to particularly wear the mask. On a lighter note, he is donating the rest of his season's salary to a charity of his choice. If you guys want to know more details on that, head over to his Instagram as well as his Twitter to find out where his salary is going to make up for all of the mask chaos. New Grizzlies forward Winslow will be out for the remainder of the NBA season as well due to an injury, and that has been undisclosed thus far. Now for NHL talk, you guys know I was hyped last week because as of Monday, training camp began across the nation for hockey to get moving again. We personally cover the Tampa Bay Lightning, and we have an opportunity to recap the week. We've got to catch up with a few guys on press conference calls because Zoom is life now. And on those press conference calls, we got to chat with guys like Yanni Gordy, Blake Coleman, Braden Point. As of recent, it was Curtis McElhaney as well as Yanni Ruda. And all the guys kind of have a similar message to the fact of how they feel about the bubble. It is very, very clear that these boys trust the NHL. They also trust, the medical experts that have been assisting in them restarting their season. They trust the coaches. They trust the staff. Even though the Lightning had that small hiccup in the beginning before training camp started where they had to shut down the facilities, they said that they bounced back very, very well. The only thing that's changed is that these guys can't have their morning coffee on their way to the facilities because they get tested every single day and you can't eat or drink anything 30 minutes prior to getting tested. Other than that, they say that they're very comfortable with moving forward. They're very comfortable to head off to these hub cities, Edmonton and Toronto, which they do this coming Sunday. Now, as for the Tampa Bay Lightning in particular, and their week back on the ice, they started off a bit slow. Just to grasp their bearings, we know that trying to train off the ice isn't too realistic. Most of these guys, you have to have a particular skill set, and you hone that craft on the ice in ice skates. So the first couple of days, they just needed to get reacclimated. But Coach Cooper, he's got great methods to just giving these guys the comfort to find their way in such a slow but fast pace, if that makes any sense. Because the drills started picking up, and even though he gave them some lax time in between, they were high-tempo drills to just start getting them in that playoff mindset. He's not trying to push anything, even though they're in a 0 to 60 situation. They had their first off day on Thursday. Come Wednesday, they had their own little somewhat scrimmage, not as big as the one they had yesterday, blue versus white, but yesterday's blue versus white game, the blue won it 5-4, but that 5-4 score was in shootoffs. We saw that he put a power play unit on each side, on blue as well as white, and the white was out there hustling. You almost thought that it was going to be the White's game, majority of it, and then, of course, they went into two different power plays. The blue scored right out the gate on a power play. White answered, then we went into shootouts, and then the deal was sealed 5-4. Now, some takeaways from that is that Curtis McElhaney actually had a great game on the ice yesterday. We know he's back up to Vasilevsky, but he's definitely that guy that they'll probably have in there for the Red Robin games, or they can at least entrust to have him in there for the Red Robin games to rest up Vasi, depending on what that playoff situation looks like and how it picks up. Before we hit that pause, we know the biggest thing that the Lightning was facing was cleaning up their special team units. They were just playing too far back, letting teams that have skilled players get on them too quickly, and you can't do that when you know you're playing against speed. And our biggest contender when it comes to playoffs is when we play teams that have that physicality, that edge. We need those muscles on our team. So hopefully, I was stoked to see Wachowski back on the roster. We know that Pat Maroon has an arm on him in terms of boxing guys out and really playing a physical game, but he has to be healthy. He was battling some concussions throughout the year. We know Eric Chernak is the primary muscle on that team. So if we get a few guys out there to step up in terms of that physicality, then I don't think the Lightning will be too shaken up, and I'm really looking forward to it. Now, as excited as I am, I definitely want to hear you guys' feedback. What are you looking forward to most once the Bolts return and they're back in action? We know that August 1st is when it all, I want to say kicks off because I'm so used to talking about football, but when it all goes down on August 1st, and then the Red Robins round start shortly after that. So shoot us a message, shoot us a comment. What are you most looking forward to when the Bolts return to the ice? And what do our chances look like in terms of playoffs in the Stanley Cup? I want to hear you guys' feedback so we can break that down next segment. Now, in other good news, or somewhat good news, somewhat nerve-wracking news, Max Domi, who plays for the Canadians, he will actually be joining the restart. You guys know that he is very outspoken to the fact that he has type 1 diabetes as well as celiac disease, and he is not letting that stop him. Now, he is at higher risk due to those conditions, but he has talked to a lot of medical experts. He had a lot of conversations with doctors, and he decided, you know what, he's going to do what he loves. So he will be a part of the restart. Send your prayers and thoughts with him to make sure that his health stays perfectly intact and that, you know, there's no COVID chaos in terms of any of those guys in the bubble. Now, NHL is doing their suspension for New York Rangers, Brendan Lemieux, for 2 games. The first 2 games of the preliminary rounds against the Carolina Hurricanes because of an illegal check that he had when they played Colorado back in December versus Giannis Donskoy. I love trying to pronounce these guys' names. Giannis Donskoy. There you go. So he will be out those first 2 games versus the Hurricanes. Now, the other bright side when it comes to the NHL as well as the bubble is since training camp, only 2 guys have tested positive for COVID-19, which is very promising because, like I said, this coming Sunday is when the boys take off to head to their hub cities. Players are very, very confident, and everyone that we asked or got a chance to talk to on these Zoom calls, we're like, okay, so how are you maintaining your sanity once you get into this bubble? And it's like, well, when we get there, we all got one thing on our mind: playoffs and Stanley Cup. So they're going to be hungry to wrap up this season and give everything they got because, again, they're kind of going from breaking all the way down into summer mode to playoff mode. When usually an NHL season is 82 games, so you have all this time to really build in and get into that headspace. And even though we were close, you know, to playoffs and wrapping up the regular season, that long pause and that different way of life that they're not used to at that time of the year, that's going to kind of shake up your mentality and your headspace. So their biggest focus is getting in that playoff headspace. The next one, every guy said, is, look, I just need a bunch of shows and a bunch of show recommendations so that I have something to do when we're not on the ice and thinking playoffs and Stanley Cup. And a few guys announced that they're actually big readers. We know that Curtis McElhaney for the Tampa Bay Lightning is a big reader. He'll be bringing a Kindle or a tablet to do his books, and Jan Ruda is a big reader too, but he said he'll probably mostly just be watching shows and playing video games. Stick with us, guys, as we go to another quick commercial break, and then we talk some soccer.
One of the things I love about Bass Pro is they have 3 great ways to shop. You can head into one of their awesome stores, visit BassPro.com, or get great gear from that catalog Johnny Morris sends out. Hi, here's your package. Bass Pro Shops, where commitment, passion, and the great outdoors all come together. Why would you shop anywhere else?
All right, guys, welcome back. So for our MLS breakdown, Orlando City Soccer wins Group A with a 1-1 draw versus the Philadelphia Union. You guys, I already told you this was a hard Group A for me because I was so stoked to see what Miami, or the new International Miami FC team, would do. And, you know, they're having a bit of a rough go around, but congratulations to Orlando City Soccer. They're also one of our primary coverages, and you know what? We've seen them go through some stuff when building their franchise and getting to this place here, so they definitely deserve it. Now, NYCFC delivers International Miami their 5th straight loss. As I said, International Miami FC is kind of hitting the rocks, but they're trying to find their footing. The team is brand new, and to back up his team, David Beckham took to social media to say, look, Real Madrid, Manchester United, those legendary teams, they weren't built overnight. Give us some time. Let us find our footing. We'll get there, and we'll be one of the toughest teams to compete against coming up here shortly. Look, it's David Beckham. How do you not have faith in David Beckham? Their biggest situation is that they showed a lot of promising strides out there on the pitch, but it was their closing. They struggled with closing or letting teams get up on them and then end up taking away the game. So, look, if they can become strong closers and keep those progressive strides that they made out there, of course, I second what David Beckham says. Legends were not made overnight. Toronto FC and New England came to a 0-0 draw, and if you guys got a chance to catch that game, that was a heck of a game. But Toronto will be advancing to the knockout stage, and New England will be kaput. So aside from that game earlier today, we have Atlanta United and Columbus that actually kicked off 18 minutes ago, and then Montreal Impact and DC United will be kicking off at 10:30 p.m. tonight. Make sure you catch those games if you're a soccer fan, and of course, per usual, I will be breaking those down Friday at 8 p.m. Guys, it felt like a quick wrap for me today, but that's your updates in the sports world. Don't forget to hit us up with those messages and comments about what you're looking forward to for the Tampa Bay Lightning coming up as they hit those Red Robin rounds here shortly and fly out this Sunday to go to playoffs in Toronto. Then we also have Tampa Bay Bucks hopefully starting their training camp next Tuesday and everything looking good and these guys feeling safe so that we have that NFL season. As for that, it's the same wrap. Stay safe, stay sane, stay kind, stay compassionate, and wear your mask so that we can get on the other side of this together. I will catch you guys Friday night at 8 p.m.